The Blue Yeti microphone is considered a decent starting option for those that are getting into voice acting. Let's face it, if you're going to get into this as a hobby, you have no idea if you're going to stick with it for a good long time, and the last thing you want to do is spend a few $100s or even more on a big XLR mic that you might never use other than once or twice. The Yeti itself is an affordable option that, while it has its flaws, can still be made to work for you as long as you know what you're doing with it. I'm going to show you how it's like. Let's just talk right now about the Yeti itself and show you exactly how it is set up. First things first, let me twist these knobs here in some pre-recorded footage, pretending like I'm actually doing it live, and show you the underneath side of it, because there are two little jacks for it. Well, one jack and one place for a USB cable. The USB cable on the left obviously goes in here and connects to your computer, which could be a laptop, could be a tower, whatever, over there. The right one is for the headphone jack, and to prevent audio latency or echo, I really recommend you have a pair of headphones with this. Both of these things should come with it if you're buying it online or whatever. In fact, what also came with it is this black thing that's attached to it. More on that in a bit, because we want to keep focusing on the mic. The front of it here, when it's turned on, you'll see a red light. If I were to press the button like so, yeah, you're muted. That's not going to work too well. The one underneath it is the headphone volume dial, and usually I keep it lower because my ears are sensitive. If your ears can handle it, then, turn it up as loud as you want, but at the same time, I wouldn't go too crazy with it. Now then, if you look at the back of the Blue Yeti, you can see two more dials. One of them is a switch setting, and let's focus on that one first because it has 4 different symbols on it, and that explains how the sound is going to be picked up by the mic. The first one, at least on my mic, is 2 circles that are linking together. That is stereo mode, and that is very good when it comes to music playing, singing. If you're playing guitar, if you're singing in a choir, heck, just singing solo, it's going to pick up stereo sound. Very good for that, but that's not exactly the purpose when it comes to voice acting. The next one on my microphone is a circle, and that's omnidirectional mode. Now that means that the sound's being picked up from all 360 degrees around the microphone. If you want to capture background noise, like say you're outside or something and you want to get the sounds of the wildlife, babbling brook, whatever, great. But if you're doing narration, that's not going to be good because it could very easily pick up the sound on your computer fan. A noise around the place where you're recording. Not exactly a good thing, that. Now the third mode on this mic, that would be the heart, is the most important one when it comes to voice acting or narration, and it is called cardioid mode. In this case, the sound is only going to be getting picked up from in front of the mic. The one on the sides, the stuff in the back, no. It's going to be coming at you basically at a right angle and going off diagonally. So in other words, if you're sitting in front of the mic, you're right in front of where you need to be. I generally like sitting back 7 to 10 inches when I'm recording. It makes it very easy to not clip the audio. It makes it very easy to have not... Because if you're real close to the mic and you start talking, the voice is going to be a little more distorted. And if you're a little far back, you're going to sound like, well, you're way far away from the mic, which we kind of are. So yeah, you want to be within a foot of it, but I wouldn't get any closer than 6 inches. Like I said, 7 to 10 for me seems to work just fine for where I'm at. The fourth setting, the 8, is bidirectional. And while it picks up the audio in the front, the 90 degrees there, it also picks up 90 degrees in the back. Again, it's not going to work for voice acting or narration, but it's perfect for interviews. Because let's face it, you got one person on one side of the mic, one person on the other side of the mic, you're good to go. Now the other knob on this is the gain knob. No pain, no gain. Anyway, if I were to turn this gain knob down, all of a sudden I'm not going to be coming through as clearly. I'm at the same 7 to 10 inches away from the mic, but I'm quieter. I can tell you right now that if I turned it up, even just a bit more than usual, all of a sudden I'm being picked up more loud and clearly. and I'm getting close to clipping, so let me turn it back down to my usual spot. I generally like having the gain knob set at about 9 o'clock or 25%. Some people recommend that you should have it turned all the way down, but I'm kind of a quiet talker, so I want to make sure that it picks my voice up loud and clear and isn't too quiet, because when you go to edit your audio, if you have it down too low, it's going to be a lot more bassier, and in some instances, you don't want that with your audio. It really depends what you're doing. Finally, on the Blue Yeti itself is the black object you see attached to it. That's a pop filter. And when I say pop filter, it basically pops out plosives. Or in other words, if I said the word pop, 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 or kick, 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 those sounds will be muffled a little bit. You should try to not have those at all. That comes down to proper speaking. That comes with practice. I can guarantee you I still have issues with this with some words. And I also have issues with sibilance, in other words, hissing like a snake. Because sometimes I just let one word hang on for too long, and it just sounds really bad. Oops. Either way, the one thing that you really want to do when you're talking into the mic is making sure that you're not really talking right up into it, but you're kind of talking past it. Because again, if you're up too close, you'll distort the audio. That's not what you want. Sound never comes through on the top either. It's only going to be from the sides of the microphone. So that's why I generally, again, recommend that half foot to a foot back from the mic. And then, yeah, I think you got it covered. So are you good to go? No, not even close. And you know why? Because you don't have any treatment in here. What I mean by treatment is, do you have anything blocking your microphone from behind? In other words, I've seen some people record from their closets, so they have a set of clothes behind them. And even then, you want to make sure you have stuff behind you when you're recording. You're trying to basically build a fort. So if you're standing up and doing this like you should be doing, then you've got a giant cover hanging behind you, preferably a comforter, and then you've got all these clothes in a closet. Hopefully that the closet is carpeted, because I can tell you right now, if it's cement, you're going to be having an echo. Same with the walls. If the walls aren't thick enough, then sound's going to be bouncing all around, your audio quality is going to blow, and you're going to be so frustrated. When I first started recording, I just used my room. What I did was I put an exercise mat behind the microphone. I had the comforter set up behind me. It wasn't the greatest, but it worked. Another thing that I've seen people do is just literally take a comforter themselves, either place it on 2 chairs and build themselves a small miniature fort, like you're hiding in there and you've got your microphone and computer in there. You can also just forego the chairs altogether and put yourself under the comforter yourself. I don't really recommend this for long recordings because you're going to be sweating really quickly. I'm going to real quickly show you my recording space, which is inside a car here. Not the most effective place, but it's the only place I can record without distracting anybody or being distracted by others, and have peace of mind to record and get everything done. I've got the comforter set down on the car seat. I've got it folded in half, and then as you can see in the back, it's folded again towards me, so I can allow the laptop fans to be able to breathe in the back there. It's resting up against the door itself. Behind the microphone itself is a pillow, and I've got a few inches of space between the back of the mic and the pillow itself. While not acoustic foam, it is strong and sturdy enough to block and muffle out the sound noise. If you look behind me here, we've got the car seat, and that's going to block out noise too. So on all sides, I'm pretty much, there's not a lot of space, and not a lot of sound gets in it, because right now I can tell you, there's some noise going on just outside. Right now it's raining, that you're not hearing. So this car, it can be very efficient. It's in a garage now, mind you, obviously. Pitch black because it's the middle of the night. Brilliant me recording at this time. But you know what? Again, only time I could right now. So we've got the microphone and the treatment, but there's one other thing we need to watch out for here, and that's the audio software program you're using. I generally go with Audacity, but you can do this in Audition, Reaper, Pro Tools, whatever. The reason why I use Audacity is because it's the one that I'm most familiar with. Here's my recording up to this point. Now, just like I have the gain volume at 25% on my microphone, when I'm using Audacity, I have the sound or the recording volume here on this dial, as I'm going to show you with a picture, at 80% or so. That's pretty good for narration because I generally like having my voice recording between 10 to 20 decibels under that 0. That 0 is where you will clip. If your audio hits that point, it's not salvageable at all. You're going to have to redo it, without a doubt. This way you've got a buffer. And in fact, I'm noticing right now that as I'm recording, I'm actually getting closer and closer to that 9. So let me turn it down just a bit. Now all of a sudden I'm right where the range is that I prefer. And when you're doing regular voice acting or narration, again, this is a perfect spot, 10 to 20 under the clipping limit, because that way you're able to get your lines out, you're able to edit them, eventually normalize them, maybe apply equalization or compression, whatever you do to fix the lines up, get them the way you want. Before you even start recording, I really recommend you do these 3 things in Audacity right away. Go to Edit, Preferences, which for me is at the bottom, and then go to Recording, because there is an option in there that you can hear live playback. So in other words, while you're talking on the mic, you will hear yourself through the headphones. I cannot tell you just how important it is to be able to make sure that you're saying your lines right as you're doing them. Really, it's something that you get used to as you go along. The other thing is in the View tab, because it's here where it says, do you see that box that says Show Clipping? Check that. Because if you have any audio that goes above that 0 decibel mark, there will be a giant red line in there. As you can see, that's just not going to work. When I first started out, I can tell you right now, I clipped occasionally, usually on lines where I'd have to scream because you have to record those differently. And yeah, it's kind of frustrating because I edit my audio inside, so the computer and mic could come in, only for the computer and mic and myself to go back out to have to do the line again. In one instance, I remember doing that 4 times for one line. Yikes. Now, the third and final thing I want you to do is make sure that you have the bar here where it says recording level and playback level. I'll have a picture with my mouse on it. But if you click that in even before you start recording, you can test what your audio levels are going to be at as you're talking, because that green bar will go. While you're recording, that's going to pop up anyway. But again, this way you've got it set up before you even start. Highly recommended. Now the thing is, what if you have a line where you have to go louder? Because you just saw I clipped the audio on something like that. Turning the gain down's not going to work completely. You could, but what if you had a line where you had to scream your lungs out? Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what you do. What you're going to have to do is turn the recording volume down in Audacity here. For me, since I can really go at it, but maybe not as much as other people, I will turn that recording volume down to 15 to 40%, somewhere in there. I'm going to show you a demonstration of what I sound like at that too, in fact. Here I am normally at about 30%. As you can tell, you can barely hear me, even though I'm talking pretty loud, same as always. But let's say I have a line here that screams. Let's just do it. What are you doing? What are you doing? Now, I really went all out on that scream, I'm going to tell you right now, because my throat's kind of burning, because I've been recording a while. So let me just say right now, I had the recording volume at 10% and the gain knob all the way down. If you're doing a yell that isn't at the top of your lungs, but you want to raise your voice a little, I still recommend turning the volume down to that 15 to 40% range. And depending on how loud you come through, you might actually want to turn the gain knob up. It just depends on how your levels are. Because again, you're trying to keep it between that 10 to 20 range, even during a yell. It can be tough, though, to monitor. Because the last thing you want to do, I'm going to tell you right now, is screw up a scream and have to repeat it a few times like, oh, I don't know, a certain someone just did while trying to record that. Hey, it's been a while. Forgive me. In any case, I think we've covered everything we need to about the Blue Yeti here. The mic, the room treatment you need for it, and how it works in conjunction with the audio editing software, in my case, Audacity. If you have any questions, be sure to send them my way. For now, though, I think I'm going to go inside, put this Blue Yeti away, and fix myself a nice hot cup of tea. Because, man, does my throat need it right now. Yep.